pain is a very powerful teacher, and I don't think we can learn without pain. And so my journey of being in a pretty deep, dark place pretty early in my life, just when is this going to end? Am I ever going to get better? Those questions that many people have when they're in pain, but then, you have to let that be your spark, and you have to go and follow that journey. Instead of using painkillers, we got to go and listen to the pain. And, that had me seeking out mentors in both, like, the physical therapy space, but also in the emotional space as well. And I feel that's all been a part of the journey.
Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified when the next video comes out. It only takes 2 seconds to make 2 clicks. So let's do it. Let's get back to the video. Hello, Fearless Freedom Tribe. This is Dr. G, and we are back for another exciting episode of the Fearless Freedom with Dr. G podcast. And today we have Gregory Stern with us, and he's going to tell us all about himself and all of the things that he is up to. Take it away, Greg.
Thanks for having me, Dr. G. So yes, my name is Greg, and I'm in Montreal, Canada, far from Dr. G at the moment. I just understood she's in Guam at the moment. And I own a clinic called From the Ground Up Physiotherapy. And I'm all about helping people get to the root cause of their pain by teaching them to move differently. So in my experience, I suffered a lot of chronic pain that stemmed from a simple ankle injury that just never healed properly. And I was going to physiotherapy at the time, hoping to get better. And what I found I was being given was a lot of passive solutions. So I was laying on a table and they would do, manual therapy, and that I was using a lot of like banded ankle drills. But although I would temporarily feel better, I was never really able to get back to doing the things I love, because this ankle sprain really started persisting on and on and on. And it was really only I started taking a deep dive to understand the mechanics of the body really deeply, did I start to make any progress. But that took me down a long journey. I was pretty depressed for a long time, having, been super athletic myself. And for years and years, I was dealing with chronic pain in my foot. But that was a long journey that brought me to a place now where I own a clinic, and I'm all about from the ground up, this idea of like a holistic approach where I really understand and teach people to use their body as a whole in order to get to the root cause of their problem, as opposed to just focusing on symptoms and the site of pain. So that's just kind of a bit of a brief background about my little story here.
Okay. All right. And then, what did you do? Did you go and get a physio degree, or did you go to special training? Like, because you had something like you had to integrate the outside elements as well as the actual like mechanical work, right? So how did that part go?
For sure. So interestingly enough, I understand you're an emergency physician. My father's as well, and my mom is a physiotherapist. So I was always immersed in the medical field.
Okay.
And at the time, I thought I wanted to do medicine, but this this injury sidetracked me in a way where like I couldn't think about anything but the pain. And I was, while I was doing my undergrad in physiology, I was just on YouTube all the time, learning and learning and learning from different movement coaches that were there. I eventually decided to get a physical therapy degree at McGill University, but I found it to be somewhat the same as what I was receiving from the therapist that I was going for treatment, which was all about manual therapy. So we learn the mechanics, but we don't really get people up into standing and moving the way that mimics the demands of people's real life. So I while I did get a professional degree, most of my education comes from my own experience, and then a lot of smart mentors along the way that I was lucky enough to stumble upon, that got me more in tune with foot mechanics and what we could actually do about that, instead of just towel curls and calf raises, which are the most prescribed things that people have when they have foot pain. It's just like, it doesn't really cut it in terms of getting after the root cause. So it was a deep dive from a lot of smart people that got me to where I am today, which is now going hiking barefoot. I could slackline no problem. And I could spend my entire day barefoot. And this was after not being able to spend like 10 seconds standing barefoot without pain. So I've come a long way, I guess, in that sense.
Wow.
Yes.
And then so, you mentioned that you had one pathway in mind, and then it kind of got rerouted because of what happened to you. Was there ever any fear involved in that?
I mean, I was just so focused on how I could get better. I mean, probably the bigger fears came around, I have a very distinct memory where, my parents always have good intentions for me, but they really wanted me to go to medical school. And there was one day where, I'm in Montreal, and Toronto's a neighboring city, and my parents were so involved in my applications, and they were like hired someone to edit my essays and whatever. And
Wow.
one day, yeah, it was crazy. But one day I said, I just had this, like, I was just depressed. Like, we were meeting this person, and I just, like, the biggest fear I had was saying, I don't want to do this. Like, telling my parents the truth of my parents and our relationship have very much evolved a lot since then. But to reveal my deepest truth, which is I'm obsessed with movement, and I'm obsessed with like feeling good, and I wasn't feeling good, and I didn't want to go down the medical path at all. And so the fear was just living my truth. And I stepped into that path. And at the time I said basically to them, I want to go into physiotherapy. And my parents said, no. And I mean, what do you mean, no? Like, this is my life. And I ran away from them, and it was a big moment. And it was like, the first time, really owning the path that I wanted to take. So there was no fear from me going into physio, but more so like, I guess, being
Not going into medicine.
Yeah, well,
Or at least
and
telling your parents that you were going to do it.
yeah. So, fast forward, but there was a lot of tension and resentment in the way that, like, yeah, I have a very successful practice right now. I was like, oh, now you're okay with my decision. But again, like, it comes from like the way that I understand things now is like, everyone has their own childhood experiences and expectations that we pose on other people. And my grandfather was very intense, and so obviously that's going to leak down onto my father and the way he was with me. And they want the best for me, but I I me being for me is not being against them. It's just like, everyone has their path to live, and so now I'm very happy with where I am.
Well, that's great. It does take a lot of courage to go up against your parents.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Because I mean, even though they may be strict with you, I almost said stern, which is kind of like funny, but they're strict with you, and they want what they want for you. It still is very hard, because you're like, oh, these are the people that have been guiding me all along, and now I'm going to be telling them I'm disagreeing with what they're saying. So
But me
yeah, it took a lot of
disagreeing with
courage
it,
to do that.
it's not like being against them, as I mentioned. It's just like being for me. And I've definitely matured along this journey, and now I'm very comfortable living my truth with my parents and with anyone around me. I'm that weird guy that is barefoot all the time, whatnot. And I think it's the more we own our own truth, and we step into taking that courage, is definitely the more inner peace we have.
I believe it. Yeah. No, that's great. That is great. And it's good to have realized that early. Because what usually happens is, teenage years, 20s, you are still discovering, you don't really know who you are. You don't really know like what you actually want. And then you get into the 30s, and you're starting to really know what you want. And then in the 40s, you say what you want and you don't accept anything else. So it's good that you realize yours, like you accelerated the pace and you realize what you actually wanted, such that you could step into the path that you actually are going to make the path to make you happy. Because some people, they literally will go to medical school. They'll do the whole thing. And then they'll get the degree and they'll be super unhappy at the end because they're doing it because
Like
the
it's a
parents.
great path if that is the path that you want.
Exactly right.
But
Exactly.
you
But
got to choose.
it's not, I mean, it's not something, just like I'm sure with physio, it's not something that you do just because someone said you should do it. Because
Exactly.
it takes passion, it takes like interest, it takes investment. So yeah.
Well, I would say on that note is that, pain is a very powerful teacher, and I don't think we can learn without pain. And so my journey of being in a pretty deep, dark place pretty early in my life, just when is this going to end? Am I ever going to get better? Those questions that many people have when they're in pain, but then, you have to let that be your spark and you have to go and follow that journey. Instead of using painkillers, we got to go and listen to the pain. And, that had me seeking out mentors in both the physical therapy space, but also in the emotional space as well. And I feel that's all been a part of the journey.
Fantastic. Hey, it's Dr. G, and I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank you for listening to this episode. I'm so honored to have you here with me. Did you know that I can help you to get your own podcast started? With my podcasting launch course for professionals, I walk you through everything you need to know about starting a podcast. I'm with you every step of the way, from sign up to launching your show, with 5 episodes ready to go. There's a done for you version that's also available if you would just rather just do recordings and leave the behind the scenes work up to us, then that one is definitely for you. But either way, we've got your back here at Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Oh, if you already have a show and you need production services, we have monthly plans available for you. So check out the links in the episode show notes for more information. Let's get back to the show. And then, so tell us what happened. So now you got done, you got your degree, you've done a lot of the, external to the physical institution to have education. Yeah. So then how do you go from there to opening your own practice? Like, how did that happen?
So I graduated in November 2019, and then the intention was to start pretty soon thereafter, and COVID hit, but I opened anyway. I opened in June 2020. And at the beginning, you think people aren't going to come because it's COVID, but everyone ultimately needs their physical therapy, whether they're in pain or not, whether COVID's happening or not, people will still come. So it was a slower process initially, but it took time. And because it was slower, I had the chance to work on my education, apply what I was learning in real time, but without the demands of too many people. Kind of experiment, and that's the only way you learn is on other people's bodies. And I was getting good results, and I was never the type of therapist that was gonna just lie you on the table and I'm here to fix you. And so I developed this reputation of helping a lot of people with chronic issues get to the root cause of their problem. Even after they had failed traditional approaches, they were coming to me as a last resort, and I was getting a lot of success. And the more people I was working with, the more practice I had. And I just kept up, educating myself on the side. And now we're 3 years and 3 months in. I see too many clients a week. I'm pretty, today I think I had 5 evals. I saw 8 1-hour clients. So schedule's full. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now, is a thriving practice. I enjoy what I do. And it's just a matter of always finding balance of still being able to go outside myself and whatnot. But every day is fun because the hours go by quickly because I'm working with people and educating them, seeing light bulb moments happen because I'm making people's bodies quiver from very simple movements. Like, why does this seem so hard? But it's just re-educating the body to move in very deliberate ways that I've learned from, and I get very good results with people.
Awesome. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you got done with school and then you opened the practice pretty much within the year.
Within the year, yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. And so, so how you kind of have to expand on that a little bit because, you don't just go and open, just get a space and open a practice. Like there's a process there, right? So, what kind of things did you have to do to get that up and running?
Well, certainly, I mean, I got a designer in my space to see, how I can manage it. I had to go purchase equipment. I had to get a lease. I had to get a loan. So lots of steps along the way. So I, was already in the works, like as I was in the process of graduating, but I never wanted to work for another person because oftentimes in the confines of traditional physiotherapy, it's like you can't stray too far outside the confines of how we're going to practice here, which is like someone comes in, at least in typical Montreal clinics, you're going to get some heat on you when you walk in, or ice. You're going to get a bit of rubbing. You might get electrotherapy done, and then like they'll give you like an exercise that's usually an afterthought, but it's like not the focus of the treatment. So I knew right away that I had to like kind of do my thing. And I'm fortunate to be surrounded by a good support system. So yeah, I guess I just went for it.
Got it. Okay, so you knew immediately that you were going to be an entrepreneur. Like there wasn't you understood that what you want to do, you could not do it under the confines of somebody else's practice. Got it. Okay. That's kind of what I was trying to figure out because, it's not typical for you to graduate professional school and then just hang a shingle. So that's why.
No, for sure. Look, one of the fortunate things is the mentorship that I had signed up for was a virtual mentorship. And so
Okay.
like when I had difficult cases, I could refer back to people. Often like you want that from your own environment that you're in. Oh, you have a senior physio and you can discuss cases with. But again, I wanted at least who my mentors were that I could discuss these difficult cases where we're online. And like at the end of the day, like so much of physio became online during COVID times.
Yes.
With many people. And so you had to refine your skills of coaching movement because you couldn't just rely on your hands. Now, hands-on therapy has its place, but it's not the be all end all, because really what happens is the moment you get someone off the table, like, yeah, let's say I have knee pain and I'm focusing on the knee, like you go back to the same movement patterns that got you into trouble in the first place. And so you're running on this hamster wheel of like, temporary relief. Why does it keep coming back? But it's because you're not really addressing the root cause. So I was always still able to have like a listening ear to bounce ideas off with other people, even though I was, and I am still alone in this venture.
Nice. Nice. No, that's fantastic. And then so now you're 3 years into it. It's like at a fever pitch because it's like buzzing, you're busy every day. What do you think your next steps are? Or do you have any fears about what the next phase is going to be?
Well, where I'm at the moment is, yeah, I personally at the moment, there's many different ways that people scale a business. Like that's what I'm thinking. At a certain point, like you run out of hours in a day. And of course, I can keep charging my hourly rate, can keep going up, which it has since I've started. But the other route that's more classic is, you hire a bunch of therapists to work for you. I don't want to go that route because there's a very intimate environment when someone's in pain to me, where someone is vulnerable. And a lot of things can open up where they're like, they tell me about whatever else is going on in their life. And like, that's part of this healing process, is like releasing all these stored emotions. And if I all of a sudden have like 5 people working for me, then like we've no longer have this private, intimate environment, because I'm in a one space, big room. So it doesn't really work. Now, I've always kind of known, I don't necessarily like, I'm happy to be in my clinic between clients. I'm doing weird movements and just stretching and doing my thing. But what I have done is 2 things. I've started doing like workshops and seminars, like group style physio, where I'm educating people, like a lower back seminar, like a 2-hour thing, or I'm educating other physiotherapists myself, because I would say that my approach is more unique, and I blended together a lot of different people. And so I educate other therapists. But to me, the biggest route is just creating, like, and I've already done this, an online program that takes the exact same system and exercises that I'm teaching to my one-on-one clients, that's providing them, with excellent results. And I've packaged together an easy to follow along collection of videos. It's suitable for beginner or advanced. It's like done in your home. And that's the type of thing that where I'm scaling is I'm working with like a mastermind company that's teaching me how to create a landing page, how to market it. And so
Right.
I wouldn't say there's fears around it. I'd say, like, one of the things that I do find around it is I put a lot of pressure on myself to, like, make, I launched this program like several months ago, and I like wanted to explode right away, like some of my mentors have done online. But just recognizing, like, it's a long game. It's okay. Like,
Yes.
I was okay prior to the launch of it. And when I first like started working with this mastermind, I was so like intense on myself to make it big right away. And now I've kind of learned to chill on it, and like, okay, it's a long game, and recognizing there's still tools to acquire, and they guide me every week. Okay, well, let's analyze the data of what's going on. So I'm taking on a whole other business at the same time of running my 30 clients a week. So it's a lot to do. But I think that's part of, like, starting a business is like the early grind, and just being patient and showing up, and yeah, so that's where I'm at the
Absolutely.
moment.
And then that's the thing about entrepreneurship too. Like you can't just have one.
Yeah, exactly.
You
So
just you just have to do more. Like it just
yeah,
happens
there's
like that.
ideas flowing, but part of it also is like dedicating time and effort to like one thing at a time, because if you do spread yourself, like nothing is going to advance forward. Yeah, so like my main effort has been launching this program called Rebuild Your Body from the Ground Up. That's been going well in terms of just like get good feedback from the people that have used it. So I'm excited about that, and just continue to iterate that to continue to make it better as a product, but also continue to make it better to communicate the pain points to people, because so many people go through this journey of like temporary relief, and then saying, like, I've tried everything. And I was there. I thought I tried everything until I actually learned effective ways of rehabbing people.
So, you have to tell us, so you're in Toronto, right? You're in Toronto?
Montreal.
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 Okay. All right. Oh, I got some good
Six
friends in
hour drive,
Montreal,
1 hour
actually.
flight away. Yeah, close enough.
Yes, yes. So you speak French also?
I do, yes.
Yeah, my friend does too. She's a doctor. She has to know both, obviously.
Yeah,
But not originally from not from Quebec. She's from
yeah.
another province, English speaking province. But anyway, so if people are in Montreal, then they have access to your clinic in person.
Yeah.
If they are elsewhere, let us know how they can access the program that you just mentioned.
Yeah, so you could either find, I mean, the easiest thing is to find it through my Instagram page or my website, which is at Ground Up Physio, on like all handles on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all that fun jazz. I put out a lot of free educational content so they could get a flavor of the types of things that I'm educating people on, to kind of understand this idea and the system of how I work with people. So that would be the easiest place to find me is Instagram, Facebook, and then I have like a link tree, and you could find the link in my bio and see if it is right for you.
Okay. So physio is spelled PHYSIO, right?
So
Okay. I just want
ground
to make
up.
sure if people are like
Yeah. So if that's my logo's not showing, so essentially I got
okay,
for
so
the YouTube
GROUND
watchers, ground up.
UP.
Yeah. So it's all about the philosophy of the foundation is our feet and our body, and of the body, and so our feet need to be mobile and strong. And that's the essence of how I healed myself and how I help other people. So like a back problem, if we can't load the foot well, then your back is always going to get irritated every time you pick something up. So we have to learn to work things together in unison as a cohesive unit rather than isolating body parts.
Makes sense. Makes total sense. Awesome. What a fantastic conversation. And thank you for sharing your journey. I love that you went from like your degree to entrepreneurship. That's amazing. Like I'm trying to get my children to do the same thing. So you inspired me. So thank you. Today we're at that part of the show where we do our tradition, and it's fill in the blank. Are you ready to fill in the blank, Greg?
Let's do it.
Okay, awesome. All right. So the first one is, if I am fearless, I will.
Listen to my heart.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. The next one is, to me, fearless freedom means
Doing what you want and not caring about what other people think of you.
oh, that's awesome. Are you sure you're your age? I feel like you're an older person. The
Definitely
wisdom.
not.
The wisdom. Awesome. 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 And then the last one is, my battle cry is.
I would say it's along the lines of being like a monkey. I've always been, well, I guess I have to make the noise or
It's up to you. I mean, this is your deal. I love it.
gotta go with the monkey.
Love
Yeah,
it. Love it.
you know,
love it.
when my parents would turn around when I was younger and they're like, "Where's Greg? Where's Greg?" And they
Yeah.
see me climbing a tree. So I just
Oh,
like more wild and playful in nature. So gotta own that monkey spirit animal.
I love it. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. I know you had a long day today, and I appreciate you taking the time out to share your
Of course.
story and your expertise with the Fearless Freedom Tribe. And then just tell us again the contact points on social.
Yeah, so if you search up the From the Ground Up Physiotherapy, you'll find me. But Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it's ground, like the word ground up, and then physio is PHYSIO, and you should find me there. And give me a follow and reach out if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer.
Awesome. 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 Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure. Take care.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Again, I'm Dr. G. And if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe so that you can get notified of when the next episode is going to be. And also, I'll catch you next time. Have a great one. Be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.